purpose of this video is to dive into a topic and explain all of it in 3 minutes. That's not a lot of time, so let's stop wasting it. School funding disparities. To get you up to speed, we're going to try and speed run a lot of information in about 30 seconds. Ready? Let's go. Due to institutionalized racism, families of color tend to have a lower economic status, and usually schools are funded based on the neighborhoods they're placed in. Children are also placed in schools based on the locations they live in. Due to redlining, neighborhoods are typically racially segregated, so that means that schools in those neighborhoods are also racially segregated. That means that BIPOC kids from lower class families will likely attend a school that is poorly funded with more students of color. Meanwhile, due to generational wealth, and again, institutionalized racism, a lot of white kids grow up in middle to upper class families and will go to a mostly white school that's well funded by white money. Got it? But does where you are in the United States affect the problem? Is it better in some regions and worse in others? When most people think of racism, they think of the southern United States, which is fair considering that many southern states fought to keep people as their slaves and have laws that protect monuments and statues of the people who fought to continue slavery. Whereas in the Midwest, there aren't as many people of color. There is still diversity, but there's a vast majority of white people. 2019 data shows that 56% of black people live in the South versus 17% in both the Northeast and the Midwest. To completely and totally answer this question with no further room for discussion, in a minute and a half, we're going to look at 4 schools, 2 per state, 1 per region. First up is the Midwest. We chose Detroit because it is a prominent location for black folks to travel during the first and second Great Migrations, which is when black Americans moved from the South to the North. The 2 schools in Detroit are on the opposite ends of the economic spectrum. Detroit Collegiate Preparatory High School is poor, and Renaissance High School is absolutely loaded. The school district has an 81% white population, but approximately 99% of both schools are minority students. Detroit Collegiate Preparatory High School has a budget of $8.5 million with $14,000 in expenditures per pupil and has a graduation rate of 54%. Renaissance High School, on the other hand, has a nearly double budget at $15.6 million with a similar expenditure rate at $14,000 per student. Surprise, surprise, they have a 96% graduation rate. Time for the South. Tennessee is one of the poorest states in the entire country and has a large number of people of color. However, segregation is also extremely high. In Memphis, 94% of students are a minority. The poor school for this section is Hamilton High School, which has a 99.7% minority rate with a graduation rate of 61%. The total budget for Hamilton High is lower than all of the other schools in this video at $5.3 million, with only $8.2 thousand allotted to each student. On the other hand, the school with the most white students in Memphis is White Station High School, which is also conveniently better funded with $9,512 for a total of $11.65 million. That's more than double HHS's entire budget. Their graduation rate is 85%. Unfortunately, there was ultimately not enough data to make an informed estimate of inter-district racial disparities, but as far as regional differences, we can see more funding going toward education as a whole in the Midwest. This can be due to a multitude of historical reasons, including the northern industrial economy versus the South agricultural economy, and how that plays into racial history. Also, this brings up the intersectionality of class and race in schooling. In conclusion, there are too many schools and too much data to go into this in a 3-minute or less video. If we were talking at 150 words a minute, we would be almost a full minute over our max allotted time. Plus, this is a very nuanced topic, and it's difficult to just look at numbers and say, hey, this is clearly the issue. But we can see that disparities do exist across regions, racial lines, and social class.